Vladimir Guerrero Jr. went from one of the top prospects in baseball to a budding superstar, and then regressed each of the last 2 seasons before even turning 25. But what if I told you he's about to absolutely break out? Again, the son of Hall of Famer Vladimir Guerrero, the man that could hit anything or would die trying, Vladdy Jr. signed with the Blue Jays as an amateur free agent on July 2nd, 2015, and quickly became one of baseball's top prospects, reaching MLB.com's top 100 for the first time in 2017, and he was number 1 in 2019 before making his debut. He was called up on April 26th at only 20 years old, and put up solid numbers during his first year and the shortened 2020 season, but his third season was when things really took off. In 2021, everything came together, and Vladdy set career highs across the board offensively. He was second out of 132 qualified hitters in OPS and WRC+, tied for the league lead in homers, and finished second in MVP voting behind Shohei Ohtani. Guerrero was on top of the baseball world at this point. He'd also just made his first All-Star team, where he was the youngest All-Star Game MVP in history, and it seemed like his career was only going up from here. But despite making 2 more All-Star teams each of the next 2 years, Vladdy's numbers kept dropping, with his homers, average, slugging, OPS, and WRC+ all regressing in back-to-back seasons. Heading into only his age 25 season, are we already seeing the decline of Vlad Jr., and is he even still able to get back to the kind of hitter that was contending for an MVP? Well, we wouldn't be here right now if not, so yeah. Not only does he still have the skills that made him such a great hitter in 2021, but he's also been getting better than his numbers these last couple years might suggest. When Vladdy was coming up as a prospect, he was regarded as an elite, generational type hitter by MLB.com because of his outstanding power paired with his plate approach and bat-to-ball skills. And this is exactly what's made him such a dangerous hitter at the major league level. Going back to 2020, Vladdy's strikeout percentage hasn't been below the 80th percentile, his exit velo hasn't ranked outside the 90th percentile, and he's never ranked below the 98th percentile in max exit velo throughout his entire career. The power in his bat has been obvious, but a lot of power hitters tend to strike out quite a bit, and Guerrero still manages to be one of the better hitters in baseball at keeping the strikeouts down while still hitting the hell out of everything.
Well, he really hit the shit out of that one, didn't he?
So let's get into how he still had these skills at a high level this year, and the adjustment that he's either been making or can make again to get the most out of these skills, like he did when he almost won an MVP. So first, that power is definitely still in his bat. He still hit 26 homers this year despite this being a down year, and his advanced numbers were still well above average, with his average exit velo 15th out of 134 qualified hitters this year. The problem though is that he just still isn't quite making the most of this. Despite all his power, over his career, Vladdy's tended to hit the ball on the ground a lot. And that's an absolute killer for your slugging and power numbers, because it's a lot harder to get extra bases on a ground ball. And I'm pretty sure we've never seen a grounder go over the fence for a home run.
Well, no shit.
To make the most of this power, you want to hit the ball in the air. Line drives have a super high average, and you're going to get most of your power from fly balls. So Vladdy hitting a lot of grounders over his career has really cut his numbers down. And go figure that his best season was the year that he had by far his lowest amount of grounders. But his second lowest was this season, and not counting 2020, his launch angle's been trending up every year except a weird drop last year. 2023 was the highest it's been, and this is a mechanical adjustment that a lot of guys have made to their swings. It's not crazy to think that Vladdy can keep working on this, and when he starts consistently hitting the ball in the air more as hard as he does, he's gonna put up monster numbers. But even with how he was hitting the ball this year, Guerrero should have been putting up way better numbers than he actually did. His .277 BABIP was 110th out of 134 qualified hitters this year, and well below his career average, and on top of this, across the board, he massively underperformed his expected numbers. Out of 136 hitters with at least 500 plate appearances this year, he had the worst difference between his actual batting average and his expected, the third worst with his slugging, and again the worst difference between his weighted on base and his expected. Just plain and simple, Vladdy got screwed this year. And I'm not gonna pretend like I could actually do the math on this, but you gotta assume that if his BABIP leveled out a bit and he performed at least right around his expecteds, he would have been putting up way better numbers. His expected weighted on base was 13th out of 134 qualified hitters this year, and it put him between Rafael Devers and Jorge Soler, who were both about 850 OPS guys this year, when Vladdy was only 788. Just to give you an idea.
Yes, science!
Now, along with making the most of his swing, Vladdy's also been one of the better hitters with how he approaches at bats, and mainly not striking out. Guerrero is gonna put the ball in play. His strikeout percentage was 14th out of all qualified hitters this year and a career best for him. And what's really impressive about this is that he doesn't strike out and doesn't even whiff all that often, while still being pretty aggressive. Vladdy's not afraid to swing the bat. He definitely got that from Pops, but he knows the strike zone pretty well too, so he's not afraid to go after a strike, but he's not really expanding the zone either, and it's this patience and eye at the plate that's going to be another key to him having a monster year.
Patience. Use the force.
His best season in 2021 came when he was his most patient. Well, patient for him. He was still swinging quite a bit if the pitch was in the zone, but it was by far the least that he's chased in a full season. And this got his walk percentage over double digits for the only time at a career high 12.3%, which would have put him top 20 out of qualified hitters this year. A lot of guys end up hitting the ball so well because they're patient enough to wait for their pitch to hit, and they're not only willing to let a ball go by and work the count in their favor, but they'll even let a strike go by if it's a pitch that they can't do damage on. But Vladdy doesn't care about this.
I don't give a fuck.
If it's a strike, he's gonna hit it, and he's proved that he can hit it well. For him, the question is, can he stay this patient again to where as many of these balls out of the zone stay balls, and he can get as many good counts as possible so that when he does get a strike, it's more over the plate instead of the pitcher being able to try to paint the corners against him. If Vladdy can stay within the strike zone as much as he's shown before, gets himself some better counts and better pitches to hit, keeps launching the ball more to really use that power, and maybe gets a little bit luckier, then he's gonna be an absolute force at the plate this year. The dude is just too talented of a hitter. His numbers may have gone down a bit these last 2 years, but I'd bet on him bouncing back, and I'm curious what you think about all this. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like and subscribe, and for more baseball content like this, you can check out the video on your screen now. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. Have an awesome day. Later.